You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest, Abdul Malik Kubako, Martin Pebu, Samuel Okujetua Blakwa. And joining us now is Andrew Ejapa Mensa. He's MP, Second D, Vice Chair, Privileges Committee, and Member, Communications Committee of Parliament. Welcome.
Thank you.
Great. Now, we haven't had you in a while.
Yes, I've not been here in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Jean Adukwe Mensa is being nominated to be the chairperson, and the Council of State is supposed to approve or what? They have no option according to the Supreme Court. The advice is not binding. Then Mr. Samuel Tete, is deputy chairperson nominee. Dr. Eric Asare Bosman is deputy chairperson nominee, and Miss Ajua Esuama Abrefa is member of the commission nominee. And this was the communication that Honorable Akosia Frema Opare, Chief of Staff, on the 23rd of July 2018 took to from the office of the President to Council of State. So why have we been at loggerheads over this, and some crying that we are setting the country up for disaster? What exactly is wrong? Let me first speak to John Jinapo, who raised certain issues, particularly about Abu Jinapo, who has issues with claims that Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu, who was also said to be in contention, rejected the offer or rejected to serve as EC chairperson on a certain principle stance, and that the manner in which Charlotte Osei was, taken out of the place, she could not bring herself to accepting to, replace her. He has some issues to raise on this. Abu, good morning and welcome to Newsfile.
Good morning, Samson, and a very good morning to your panelists and cherished listeners.
Great. So, what's the clarification?
Well, as you have rightly put it out there, some individuals have sought to make the claim or the suggestion that President Akufo-Addo did approach Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu to serve as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, and that Professor Mensa Bonsu rejected the offer on the grounds that the processes leading to the nomination of our Electoral Commission chairperson is tainted with fraud, and that is why we settled on Mrs. Jean Mensa as a second choice. Let me say, Samson, that I've been very much involved in processes, deliberations, consultations, and all that it took to get us to this point of the nomination of Madame Jean Mensa. Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu, I can state on authority, had never, and I repeat, never been approached by the President or any member of government or his government as regards a possible nomination as chairperson of the Electoral Commission. In fact, it never even came up. Her name never popped up. The President from the very get-go, had been firmly settled on Mrs. Jean Mensa. She's been her first choice. She's been his first choice. She's been his second choice. She's been his third choice. There's never been any instance where Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu's name ever came up. Now, let me also be quick to state that Professor Mensa Bonsu is somebody I know quite well. She was my lecturer at the faculty and also at the graduate school. Hello?
I'm listening to you.
And she really is somebody who is very competent woman of enormous integrity. Indeed, Akufo-Addo's government did nominate her to be appointed as a judge on the International Criminal Court. Canvassed for her vigorously. She is a woman of astute qualities and competencies and integrity. But the fact remains that she was never considered, she was never approached, and her name never came up. So all of those.
Was she deemed to be above this job? Was she deemed to be above this job?
Well, we never contemplated it. It was never discussed.
Okay.
It was never reflected.
Do you
never interrogated?
Okay. Do you find that some of your pronouncements this morning, in giving the clarity, which is very useful, lend themselves to a question about the claim broad consultation, whether indeed that happened? If from the get-go, Jean Mensa was choice number 1, number 2, number 3, and whatever, what was the broad consultation thing about? Was anything like that done?
That's a very good question. The president engaged in broad, quiet consultations in respect of what his thinking was and the views that others will have about his thinking or the direction that he intended to go. But that's the consultation. First, on the general principles or the general ingredients which will go into the appointment. And second, on the person that he had in mind. And he did consult. And I have said this, and I will repeat it. Even as much as I acknowledge that these are confidential discussions which took place in government. He did, for instance, speak to the former chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jan, and many other people.
Hello, Abu.
I'm here.
Great. Do we have Council of State's reports on the nominations?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the persons as nominated stand approved by the Council of State, is it?
Well, I leave that for the appropriate time for that communication to be made. But we do have.
In fact, the word approve I use is wrong. They are not required to make an approval. They are supposed to give an advice, which, according to the Supreme Court, is not binding.
What I said was that I said we've received communication from the Council of State.
Right. I was saying my own word I used approved is actually wrong because they are not required to make an approval.
That's okay.
Okay. So yours is a difficult job. Thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Because this clarification is very critical, and that claim has been in some sections of the media very prominent that Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu had actually declined to accept on the basis of principle because she had issues with the manner in which Charlotte Osei was removed. Okay, so I'm getting to the studio here and to hear the views of my guests on these matters. But before then, let me take your comments that you brought in on the first issue. And Nana Boateng in Milton Keynes in the UK, he says, as an educational consultant in the UK, I do highly commend the government for this free SHS initiative, but I think they should review some aspects of the program, like parents should incur the cost of the boarding and some feeding fee, so there is fairness compared to the day students. Eja Adam says that the government has introduced a way of absorbing the gap between number of students and available space in our schools for the next academic year. We should support it. Akwesi Obeng in Ejusu Bisasi says, let me commend Dr. Educhum for educating Ghanaians this morning. The double track system does not mean there is no money to fund the free SHS. So NDC members should stop referring to what Honorable Ken Oforiatta said. MPP government doesn't want those who will pass to stay at home, period. Okay, so that was part of the argument by the opposition, really, that all our money has gone, the money has gone into consumption. So there's actually no money to fund the free SHS. And so you can't build and continue the infrastructure. And this is the sort of a lazy way out. Benjamin Osei Jamra in the UK says, I totally disagree with the fact that the NDC must be consulted on free SHS. They have never spoken well of the policy and it is obvious they want the policy to fail, so that people like Okujeto Ablakwa will say they have been vindicated. Okay, so the response here in my studio is that your comment is not in good taste, to say that the NDC should not be consulted. At least Kweku says that they started from opposition and then began to support partially, and then eventually they shocked all of us by saying we are doing free SHS. Exactly. Kwabena in Tema says it is very interesting to listen to the minister and to know the thinking, the wisdom, and the knowledge that has gone into the whole program. It only shows that this all-important policy cannot and should not be reduced to a mere academic exercise as being suggested. Iliasu in Tamale says the best thing that has happened to students in this country is the implementation of free SHS, and now to be implemented double-track system. The problem of the NDC is that they continue to doubt, they continue to be doubting Thomases. That's what you wanted to say. Kofi Atta in Cambridge says the question is how to improve it, and there are different options, including building more day SHSs, mean-tested free SHS, so that parents and guardians with annual incomes above a specified amount do contribute progressively, turning boarding schools into day schools, as it makes no sense for the state to feed boarders for free. Regarding the idea of degree holders to be recruited in the police, we'll deal with that very shortly. Thank you very much. And Fortune is asking a question that Okujeto keeps saying the previous government was constructing 124 schools. Please ask him the locations. I know my home village, Abomosu and Teshi, were allocated two, but not a single block is on site because no payment made to contractors. Now, so let's come to the matters of the Electoral Commission, matters arising. Yes, Martin. Okay. Start with you once again. Okay. What do you make of the nominees? I have my doubt if the Council of State will say anything otherwise.
Actually, I thought yesterday I heard that they had been kind of okay.
Approved. Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. To be candid, we've not been given that much space to be able to interrogate their personal profiles as such, you see, considering the time span. Because me, as soon as I saw that the letter had gone to the Council of State, it was a fait accompli. There wasn't much that could be done because, look, Samson, when you go to the Constitution...
There's also the argument that often, before it gets to Council of State, they would have actually consulted the Council of State before they come out with the names.
Exactly. Perfect. Yes. Yes. You know, backroom channel communication. If you look at the Constitution Review Commission, its findings are that this Council of State has not been structured in a manner to be independent. Look, let me read for emphasis.
Right.
It says that, yes, the Commission... It says the Commission nevertheless finds that the effectiveness with which institutions which are constitutionally mandated to act as a check on the President's appointing powers have discharged their mandate remains a grave concern to many Ghanaians. First, the Council of State is perceived to have not operated as a strong check on the President's powers to appoint persons to public office, including members of the independent constitutional bodies, and the EC is one.
Yeah.
The Council of State is also considered in its present form and composition not to be adequately independent of the President to perform its functions effectively. So me, as soon as I saw that the letter was going to the Council of State, I said, look, this is a fait accompli.
But this is a confirmation of a traditional view.
Yeah.
There's nothing new.
Oh, no, so that is at least there's some authority. You know, the Constitution Review Commission, they took, what do you call it, responses from citizens. Those days you could text your responses and all. There were a number of questions. So this is it. And I'm sure it's because of this kind of fundamental weakness in the system. That is how the President himself, when time came for Mrs. Osei to be appointed as EC chair, the president led the charges for us to do broad open consultations. You see, then just how many years on, he's done 180 degrees and thrown away broad open consultations, thrown it to the dogs, which is not fair. You see, we shouldn't run a country like that. A man comes
the
from
deputy chief of staff just a while ago
yes,
reiterated the fact that there was broad consultation.
oh no, this will not qualify, please. No matter how imaginative he wants
It was
to be.
broad but not open. Is that your problem?
That is it. He said broad open consultations. You know, that's what the president said when he was speaking to students at the University of Cape Coast. And apart from the president, Gabi Ochidako, okay, he did research and showed us that at least about 9 African countries, CSOs nominate the persons. They are vetted in open, okay? Openly, the public can, people file questions, then they are tested so that people can form their impressions.
If the president didn't do it, has he done anything wrong constitutionally?
Oh yes, I think within the spirit of the constitution.
Spirit.
Yes, and the spirit is as much. Even the constitution itself mentions that it has a letter in the spirit. You know that.
Where in the spirit has he erred?
Where in the
The constitution says he's supposed to do that with the advice of the Council of State.
Yes, but
why are
within
you forcing him to consult broadly?
Oh, there are a number of Supreme Court decisions that have said that our constitution enjoins transparency in governance. So many with our number. So many Supreme Court decisions. Even in the bail decision,
So can anybody sue the president on this for not having done broad open consultations? What would you advise to a client who comes to you to sue?
To be candid, to the extent I want to test want to push and expand the frontiers of the law, we may as well try it. And especially as the president in opposition strongly advocated for it. Even Uncle Kweku here also advocated for strong, broad, open consultation. So the president has betrayed the cause. He slapped Ghanaians in the face. Yeah. That shouldn't be done. I mean, what does it take? It's EC chairperson.
So if you advise in this way that you may want to do an attempt, can we look at your relief, your first relief? What will it be before the Supreme Court? That the president has erred in doing what?
Yes, so you'd say that by the failure, okay, on a true and proper interpretation of Article 70 of the Constitution, the president is enjoined, is enjoined to undertake broad, open public consultations before appointing the chairperson of the Electoral Commission.
It's not in the Constitution.
I said People's Court. Yes, exactly. And don't forget, I said on a true and proper interpretation. And the Constitution itself says that it has a letter and a spirit. Okay. You know it very well.
Interesting.
So, and then, quite apart from that, so your question was that what do I make of it? On, when was it? Thursday, 26th July. You know, usually people send through WhatsApp their front pages. Yeah. I saw on Daily Post this story. It shows the president, the first lady, Madam Jean Mensa, and then the former Speaker of Parliament, Justice Jacob Griffiths Randolph. He says that Griffiths Randolph's niece is Madam Jean Mensa's mother, and the First Lady's is an aunt to Madam Mensa, Jean Mensa. Yes. To be candid, I was worried, and I'm still worried. I don't know the veracity of this story.
I saw it and I ignored it. Why were you worried?
Yeah, worried because, you know, being a citizen, you know, we are all, you know, there's that popular saying that you make the worst mistake if you say you don't care about politics. Yes, I'm a private legal practitioner, but we want to have our democracy grow in a certain direction, okay, so that we'll be assured of a better future. So when I saw it, I thought that, no, I think this one, we've crossed the line. You can't have your relation superintending the electoral process.
What's the basis of that?
That's why I said that.
Because some newspaper has published.
Yes, so I'm coming. Wait, please
wait.
So I said that let's hear a response from the presidency about this story in the Daily Post. Something I don't know.
What happened to he who alleges must prove?
Oh no, so, you know, under the Evidence Act. Under the Evidence Act, a publication like this is presumed to be true. Check your Evidence Act. It's there. Publication in a graphic in a newspaper is presumed to be true until proven false. That's why I brought it. Please, I think that the presidency, they should respond to it if it's false, so that we know. And the Evidence Act, let's bring it up.
What is the problem if it is not false? If it is true?
If it is true, that's why I'm saying that if it is true, it's not, you know, it's not good for our democracy.
Explain that.
What I'm explaining is that, you see, look, you know, there's this Soviet president who stated that voters don't decide as much as those who count. When you have your relation Stalin.
Stalin.
Thank you very much. And especially
the Chief Justice Wood quoted him when she was writing the foreword for Mabel Akubanase's book on the election petition.
Very good. Okay, I should. Yes, I think I bought that book. Okay, I'll look again. Yes, so the point is that where you have your own kinsman counting the ballot, is not safe generally. No. You see, perception. Let's not forget, this whole game is about perception. So once you have your kinsman there, anything that is done and it seems to favor you, say, oh yes, it's because you have your kinsman there. Coupled with even some of our own sayings in our local language. You hear what they say, when your brother is on the tree, you don't eat raw fruits. You see,
you have read why the Supreme Court came to the interpretation of the word shall in the election petition, not to be binding in that circumstance.
Okay.
And the bottom line was that by the structure of our election system, our electoral system, the process is transparent from the word go. By the time the results even get to the Electoral Commission's offices, they are not results you can tamper with, probably. So will this argument still hold that Jean Mensa will be counting the results?
Yes. This is so when we say count, you see, don't forget that there are a number of levels. One, she is the one who declares the results. You remember Mrs. Osei was being practically held hostage. MPP had counted and knew that they had won. It took more than 24 hours before finally the EC chair came to it. And even as far as I'm aware, what we heard was that it took interventions of several states, men and women, to go begging and imploring that no, look, let go. You see, and don't forget those critical 3 days.
You have come to know that these are rumors, they are untrue. So why are you relying on them?
Sometimes as far as, they were played out in the newspapers and then they were published in the radio. So as I said, for me, by the Evidence Act, generally, these things are presumed to be true. If they are false, come out and debunk them. And you see that generally after the elections, the 3 days before the announcements are made, the declaration is made by the EC chair, that the political temperature rises. Look at what the MPP did. They had the pink sheets. They manually calculated and saw that they had won. The EC kept saying, we've not seen that the system has shut down, all those things. So what I'm saying is that when you have your kinsman being in charge like that, as soon as such a situation comes up again, you say, you see, it's an orchestrated attempt to make sure that something is done to favor, you see, the government. So definitely when it comes to counting elections, I think that we shouldn't have a relation.
You are saying that it doesn't matter that Mrs. Jean Mensa is known to have done very well for herself as Executive Director of the Institute of Economic Affairs. She's been co-coordinator of the Ghana Political Parties program. She's a lawyer by profession of many years standing. She's carved a niche for herself in the field of policy research and advocacy. She's been involved in the development of policies such as the Presidential Transition Act of 2012, the revised 1992 Constitution of Ghana draft. You've heard the NPP quickly bringing the fact that Professor Atamils found her worthy to put her on the Constitution Review Commission to do some work, and presently that she's a member of the government committee tasked with preparing the affirmative action bill. You say we should put all this aside.
Sounds like these qualifications. There are 1,001 lawyers who have this. There are 1,001 lawyers who have this. You remember I consistently advocated that let's go to our courts. You find very sharp judges, very, very, very sharp. And when judges go through or they hear cases, you see, it's almost, let's call it in a way, scientific. That there's a system that they go through. We can verify. These qualifications, to be candid, look, let me tell you, this is not what will sway me personally, to be very candid. When you say executive secretary, that doesn't give me enough details. It doesn't give enough. Let's bring out specific things that were done, specific things, specific programs that were originated by her so that we can interrogate. Okay. When you say Constitution Review Commission, then why didn't we go to ask the committee, those who worked with her, so that we can have an independent assessment how exactly what she did in the committee? So which of the recommendations can you say that, so this document has to be fine? I can imagine that for the commission, the commissioners can say, this is my part, something that at least they originated. So which part of the recommendations and all those things that were brought out, that can be attributed to her. That is what we need to do to interrogate. We need to be critical. So if you say LLM, oh, that's why I say LLM, plenty, plenty. That's why I say over 1,000 lawyers. That is so, you see, as for qualifications, paper qualifications, people have a lot. Let's look at practically specific. So when you say executive,
yeah, so she's an example. She's an example of what you can't say paper qualification.
Yeah, that's why I said when you say
she's been at a place that has brought the parties together.
Oh, but I thought NDC,
except that at
always.
various times they have had issues.
Yes. So that's why I said that I specifically want to see that. Okay. So what really originated? What has she originated by herself? So that we see as a track. You see. So let's take the days where advocating Professor Mensa as EC chair. So when you bring her up, her profile, you can see that this paper authored by her single, or even she authored with somebody. You see the two names. That's what I mean. So we want to see originality in thought. You see, what has the person given birth to originally?
That's the qualification for
No,
the
not you see, we are trying to take the best of the best.
Thank you.
We're saying that we want specifics rather than generic statements.
How about the others? Do you have any issues? The NDC particularly has raised issues with Dr. Eric Bosman. They say his even recent comments have been very clear that he's against, former President Mahama. I think, who else have they raised issue about? I think they've raised issue about almost everybody except the deputy, Mr. Tete, Samuel Tete.
Yeah, Dr. Bosman, I can see it's good the president kind of nominated a young man, because I think from what I can see, he's relatively far young. Yes, but I think matching them any day, I would have taken Dr. Akwete ahead. You see, that's how we came out by public opinion. We're advocating for Professor Henrietta Mensa Bonsu, Dr. Akwete, okay, and also a certain judge. Like I keep saying, you see, in the past we had Justice Kingsley, the former EC, and then even Josiah Ofori Boateng. Yeah, there was a reason why in those days we took from the courts, because
VCRAC Crab was also our first election commission chair, right?
Exactly. So you see, I've had a history of taking also from the bench, because there is a time-tested way judges go about their work. They listen to conflicts, they resolve conflicts. So we want practical people. If you look at Mensa Bonsu for some years was in Liberia, conflict reading. She worked with the in the UN peacekeeping and all that. So you see that very rich experience. She had seen conflict firsthand, apart from her academic life in Legon and all that. So compared to this one, you've given me LLM.
But have we considered how old she is and whether or not she would have accepted it? And in my view, she's more than qualified for that job.
No, but we need the best of the best for such a critical position.
Okay, thank you.
Like as I do, they didn't even consult.
So Sami, do you agree with the claims about Jean Mensa and the relationship and the capacity to tamper with election results? Do you agree with that? The fear of the capacity, I should say, to tamper with election results?
You see, Samson, we have to go back to what brought us here. What brought us
to start
here?
with, you mean you won't answer my question?
What? No, I'm answering your question.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe that guests should be allowed to answer your questions how they feel like.
Okay.
It should be all right, isn't it? So what brought us here? Abuse of the constitutional process. The inherent threat that has posed to our democracy, the sustainability of our democracy, the stability of our democracy. I am a member of the National Democratic Congress, and I can tell you something, that there is such a groundswell in the party that when we come to power, we should also do the same. Take interest in a petition, call the petitioners back to sign a cover letter when it is not signed, and carry out the threats that others, like the Honorable Kennedy Japan and other ways. There's a tall list we have put out there of people who predicted this, who said publicly that this is what we will do to her.
But by the commission's report, the committee's report, they are finding some facts.
Something.
Facts. Of breaches of procurement, procedures.
Look, something I can tell you that some of us in the leadership are restraining our rank and file. We are not too sure that is the way to go, that this tit for tat and all of that. But you are only an individual, you're only few people. Can we stop a tit for tat action, a retaliation one day? Should our Electoral Commission be subject to such political shenanigans? It should not. To me, that is the fundamental issue. That is why I agree with former President Mahama when he tweeted that this whole episode is regrettable. He chose his words very carefully. Regrettable. Is this the way to go? So now, every party that comes to power, it should be about who you are comfortable with, who you want. That is why I even agree with people like Dr. Odro Osai, the man I respect to, who is saying that we should even strip presidents of this and politicians of the appointment process. Very radical.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
The graph.
Yes, he says we should strip them off and just have an independent panel that interviews people, because going to play. And now we have the situation where the president potentially can appoint all 7 commissioners. That's what is going to happen by 2020. And if you look at the trend of these appointments, I've also seen the research that has been done on the Kenyan method. Very interesting. Where there's a panel, it's publicly advertised. You apply, go for an interview, and then
You set up a constitutional review commission.
Sorry.
Didn't do anything about it.
Sorry.
Please, if I can,
You
have
get
please.
your time to speak.
Please.
Yeah.
And then the panel shortlists 9, submits the name to the Kenyan president, the names to the Kenyan president. The Kenyan president then selects one of them as chairperson and 6, and forwards the name to the National Assembly. In our case, it will be the parliament for vetting. In Ghana, we don't have all of these checks and balances. It's just the president, Council of State. Remember that the Supreme Court decision that Council of State advice is not binding. So really, it's the president. He has the sole, and if he decides not to consult, like has happened in this case,
Professor May set up a Constitution Review Commission, and among their recommendations for this appointment was for what you are suggesting, and including Parliament, approving of these people.
Yes, but we are yet to implement that. So you have a situation where if you trace the root, and it's important because we didn't just. It's not as if people have retired. 3 commissioners have been removed, and that is why we need to look for a replacement. So I'm saying that a very bad precedent has been set, and it is not even fair to whoever will be appointed. Can you imagine how the electoral commissioners will be feeling with all these threats hanging around their head? If you declare for the opposing party, when they come, this is what they say they'll do, and there's recent history. That's what they did to your predecessor before you got in there. Are we going to then see a situation where electoral commissioners will do everything possible to retain those who appoint them in power, to protect their jobs? The independence and the security of tenure that we enshrined in our constitution to avoid this threat has been pierced. It's been flagrantly violated. And so whoever is appointed an electoral commissioner is now working in fear, and a real fear, because of what has been created. To me, that is a fundamental issue which we should have avoided.
Why should you harbor any fears if you do the right things that no one can catch you?
The very hardworking and dynamic Madame Charlotte Osei did a great and fantastic work. If you read the Kodio report, you read the EU Observer report, UN Observer report, you listen to the US ambassador. United States gave her one of their highest awards. And yet, where is she now? She's been removed on grounds of what? Incompetence.
And stated misbehavior.
Very wide. Our current Chief Justice, when she had opportunity to give a judgment on this matter, said that, look, the ambit is so wide that it can lend itself.
That's why Kwekubaku is in court, to get to streamline that process.
Exactly. So now we have this real danger that we have created. So how do you restrain other political actors? I've just read some of the research material you gave us. I was just reading Mr. Mona, the chairman of the PNC, who says, quote, I predict that Mrs. Mensa will oversee only one major election because her appointment is not merited and lacks the tenacity to withstand pressure that comes with elections. And you see, based on the precedents that we have set as a country, we now have this, and it's not good for democracy. Now on Dr. Jean Mensa, Ms. Jean Mensa, Dr. Bosman Asare, I think that these two persons have come up for criticism, and my party has put out a statement. Indeed, there will be a press conference shortly on the facts as we know. In her dealings with us, the view we have taken is that Mrs. Jean Mensa has not been fair, has not had a balanced disposition. As a person, I like her, I have nothing against her. It's not about her person, it's not about her track record, it's not about her achievements, her accomplishments. It's not about that. She has done her best at the IEA, I will argue. However, in her dealings with all her political party programs that she carried out, it does appear that she did not deal fairly with the NDC, and we have evidence to support that. There was an incident also with Professor Hoy, a consultant of the NDC stock, and how she treated him and all of that. So we have a catalog which we'll be putting out. Dr. Bosman Asare, he has been out there speaking. We have all his statements. He seemed to have very harsh words for NDC as a party. Former President Mahama is an article in which he published in ahead of the 2016 election, where he said President Mahama was exhibiting desperation and all of that. We have watched his analysis. Somebody like Mr. Martin Pegu, we listen to him carefully and closely. You can't tell where he belongs. He really he's very balanced. Yeah. You know, I was telling him before the show, very balanced. But when you listen to Dr. Bosman Asare, he doesn't come across like Mr. Martin Pegu. He comes across as an out-and-out MPP activist. We've all been watching him on TV3 Newsday. We've been reading his publications, his pronouncements.
Must one necessarily be neutral to be impartial?
You don't, not necessarily, but it should not be overt. It should not be public. You know, Electoral Commission, as Mr. Martin Pegu has said, it's a very sensitive appointment. And you have to give assurance to all the parties. Yeah. That is why it is, and here I must concede that with hindsight, we could also have done broader consultations. Exactly. With hindsight. I think that it was a good suggestion, which with hindsight we should have taken. Because you see, you want to make sure that all the parties at least, are quite comfortable with whoever, because you are going into a football match. You don't want one side to appoint the referee and all the linesmen, including the VRA, what has been introduced
the NDC has
in
had,
the latest work. I said that come and play.
Reason,
so
the NDC has had reason to boycott the IEA. So has the NPP, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, so that in 2016, the presidential, debates of the IEA, which we know have become established in this country, the two parties boycotted. I was the moderator. We only dealt with the minor parties, PNC, Kusi Indum, and the independent. So, what's the point?
Except that if you look at those boycotts, if you do an analysis of those boycotts, you notice that even across, there's been a tradition where those in power don't really attend. President Kufuor, even from President Rawlings' era, and all of them. That's different from the NDC's boycott. We had stated cases of bias. You remember there was also this report that the IEA put out about the vote buying and the opulent nature of the 2008 campaign. The GNA published it, other newspapers published it. When the MPP issued a statement that they didn't like that report, they recanted. The IEA really embarrassed itself, and Mensa was at the forefront of that. So there's a catalogue, that, as I have said, which we'll be putting out, including the infamous Professor Kwame Nahor incident, where a report he had presented to the IEA, a page was torn out, and all of that. We cannot dismiss all of these genuine concerns. And I've said that it's nothing personal. It's not that we don't like her as a person. It's not about the personality. It is about what this government has done, the precedent they have set, and the pressure that every successive government, every new government will come under from its supporters and its hawks to repeat same. And whether the silence of moral society, whether they can be silent when it happens.
I have not heard you impeach. I have not heard you impeach the competence of the people. All you have done, that I have heard you do, is to raise questions about their perceived bias.
Yes, and that is where I will stick. I do not intend to stray away from that, because we need to be fair. I've told you that this is not personal. Okay. I've told you that she has done her best.
Thank you.
At IEA.
Yeah.
Dr. Bosman as a lecturer, I haven't heard that he's not punctual and he doesn't carry out his work as a lecturer. What I have heard from his students is that he states publicly when he comes to lectures, that's why he's MPP. He belongs to the right of the political divide. He stated publicly.
Okay.
I'm even aware of.
Now let's hear from a Japan.
Yes. Of a petition by students of Dr. Bosman Asare.
Okay. Tell us also what you make of the nominations or appointments.
Well, I guess good morning.
And particularly the criticism against Jean Mensa and Dr. Bosman Asare.
Very well. Since I joined rather late, good morning to my very good friends.
Good morning.
Of course, Uncle Kwiku Baku, and to your good self, and all the people who have taken time out to listen to us this morning. Well, the commentary was expected. You know, the raising of issues was expected, consistent with most appointments that His Excellency the President will make. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me at all. All of a sudden, hindsight is operating today. All of a sudden, you needed to get everybody on board. Wherein lies the executive power that has been vested with the president? If he is to consult all 29 million of us before he takes a decision, which I hear Martin to be suggesting. But for me,
as candidate, he proposed that method.
Well, I do not recall, but whatever it is, you see, we have a constitution that we are working with.
Sorry, you don't want to entertain that view. It's not that you do not recall, because it's a matter of public knowledge.
No, it's fine. I'm not
that if the party as a party itself and himself were clearly on that path, together with civil society, you see, that there ought to be open public consultations before the appointment.
I don't have a problem.
All right.
And I'm not intended on going into a banter as to who said what.
Okay.
Of course, if we all think that that is the route to go, I'm happy to have that conversation. Because our constitution is supposed to be a living document. It needs to be reviewed as we go along. Unfortunately, when they had an opportunity to effect a comprehensive review, spent huge sums of money to go around the country to solicit views on how to improve the document that is our supreme law. They failed to implement it. And I've heard His Excellency the President give an indication that that process would be revisited, and I hope that it is soon, so that we have clarity. We can, improve some of the things that we've all complained about over the years. But as it is, that is the law. This document. And His Excellency the President, in accordance with the provisions of the law, has gone ahead to exercise the power that the people of Ghana have vested in him. And it's interesting that, like you indicated, nobody really is questioning the competencies of the persons who have been appointed, except the issue that Martin raised, that all we've seen is paper qualification and all that. I wonder to what extent that she wants some demonstration of capacity to be provided.
I mean, writings and original thoughts, original ideas and initiatives.
Why is she going to? Is she going to write articles at the Electoral Commission?
Oh, right.
The functions of the Electoral Commission is clearly spelled out in the Constitution. And you need writings, articles, publications
Initiatives and ideas
to have
original.
a qualification. But of course, she's managed an institution, a credible one at that, for all these years. And if that is not enough, then I wonder what it is that you want in addition to that.
Are you worried? Questions of her potential biases that they raise, that her husband was appointed in Kufuor's administration, and she, of course, so there should be some relationship, and then
her own
suddenly we are
relationship with the
being
First
told
Lady.
about her relationship to the First Lady, and questions of, you know, fear of capacity to manipulate, count results, so to speak, count votes.
Samson, what is the role of the Electoral Commissioner? Like you yourself said earlier, the elections are determined at the polling station, transmitted through the constituency to the district, to the region, and to the Electoral Commission's office in Accra. The only duty is to declare. You see, I get worried.
Will you have accepted
No,
this
wait,
if she was
of
under
course,
that foot?
you appointed Mrs. Osei. She presided over an election and you lost.
Yes.
So, what is the issue? The votes did not support your candidate's election. And so she didn't have a choice. So I'm saying that, you see, and you go back to how she was, if you like, removed, and consistent with the position that you guys have taken all along, as if to say that because people objected to her appointment at the time that we're going through that exercise.
This will be done to her.
No, of course, I'm not worried about any threats. You are threatening now. Same rule book is playing out.
No, I'm restraining the threats.
You are restraining
Yes,
threats.
I'm a restraining force.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
Your general secretary is all over the place, saying all sorts of things. Members of your party.
But can you
you
blame
see-
them?
Oh, I don't have a problem. They can. Everybody is entitled to his view, and we can all talk, like some of the members of my party did at the time. You recall that I have said to you that I have a challenge with how she left, if you like, a constitutionally protected office into another with the same terms and conditions. Was it a transfer? What was it?
She resigned.
I agree. She resigned. But you see,
What do you call it? Warrant of appointment.
I agree. I know. But fits into the same things that we are talking about.
So then, right.
You understand? But then again, we ought not continue to do this to ourselves as a people. If we think that the constitution that we are working with has problems, by all means, let's change it. Until then, if appointments are made in accordance with the constitution that you and I have sworn an oath to protect, that His Excellency the President has sworn an oath to protect, you say you should disregard it and do something else. How is that possible? How is that possible? The constitution says, look, seek advice from the Council of State in accordance with Article 72 before you make appointments to offices of this nature. His Excellency the President has done exactly that. You say no. He should do broad consultations.
Open.
And broad.
Because
Come
he
to my
had
house
asked
and
for
ask
that.
me, Ejapa Mensa, look,
because he
I
had
want to
asked for
appoint
that.
this.
He asked
No,
for
you
it.
see, Samson, I don't have a problem. And we can go back and forth about what he said. Mr. Mahama stuck with the provisions of the Constitution. And the matter was put to rest as far as I'm concerned. Okay?
No.
So if going forward, that's the way we want to go, by all means. And Sami says what? Potentially appointing 7 commissioners of the Electoral Commission is an issue. In 1992, when we started this constitutional process, who appointed all the electoral commissioners? The political parties in this country did not work with them. Transition from a governing party to an opposition party never occurred in this country. Look, you know, and I know, that retaining power or winning an election depends on what it is that you do for the people. How they perceive the management that you are providing to them. And so, I really wonder why it is that people are raising all sorts of issues. But like I said, what else do you expect? Opposition, I guess that when we are in opposition, our role is to oppose and oppose everything that His Excellency the President does.
No,
Okay.
not
But otherwise,
necessarily.
and the Daily Post issue that they have put across, let's interrogate it, because I don't know. In any event, if the relationship was in fact the case, what's the issue?
Wow.
Wow.
Did you really ask that?
Yes, I
It's
asked
a
that.
big issue.
Please.
What's the
It's a
issue?
big deal.
The issue.
Particularly when we have established here that the votes are won at the polling station.
And Sami is
And-
saying,
and so what's
Sami
the-
is
what's the
saying
issue?
it's an issue, but you, and even in your party, you have said, even if the NPP put Freddie Blay, who is the national chairman of the NPP,
Yeah.
as EC commissioner or chairperson,
Yeah. Yeah, we will
still win the elections.
Still win the
So
2020
what's your
elections.
issue?
Yeah, no, we don't have a doubt.
The perception will linger
about
on.
winning the
Okay.
2020
Okay,
election. But
thank
the
you.
perception-
You don't have a doubt about winning the
let's hear
2020
Kweku now.
The perception.
Let's
Let's wait and see.
Let's hear Kweku now. And Kweku, would you say it was very important, Abu Jinapor's intervention, that now we know that Henrietta Mensa Bonsu was not in the picture at all, and that again President Akufo-Addo did consultation, but closed door consultation?
Well,
He actually says we can contact Mensa Bonsu and ask her. She confirmed that she was never, in the running.
yes, I believe what Abu is saying.
Okay.
He's been very direct, very categorical, and on a public platform. So I'm going along with him. I'm sure if Madame Henrietta Mensa Bonsu wants to also compliment it, she may do so. I mean, she's somebody I have huge respect for. A woman of integrity, impeccable integrity.
Right.
Yeah, but see, let's deal with the issues one by one. I'll come to the consultation. Jean Mensa, I've done some few checks as I sat here. It's not the sister-in-law of Akufo-Addo.
Rebecca
Niece.
Akufo-Addo.
Niece.
No,
Okay.
read the
Akufo-Addo,
story.
yeah.
This story.
Okay.
No, I'm
All
going
right,
step
please
by
allow
step.
him. Allow him. Sorry
He
that
says,
I even came in.
once
Go ahead.
again, President Nana Akufo-Addo did not disappoint. He appointed his sister-in-law as the EC chair. Jean Mensa is the niece of President Nana Akufo-Addo's wife. And in the eyes of this palpable facts, how can Jean Mensa be a neutral arbiter? Then on the front page, they bring in Rebecca's father, late father, and say that his niece was Jean's mother. My checks show Jean is not the sister-in-law of Akufo-Addo. She's also not the niece of Rebecca Akufo-Addo. Her mother was also not the niece of Rebecca Akufo-Addo's father. Full stop. That's what it is.
But even if they were,
No, but we are
Okay, so
claiming.
I
let's
agree
hear
with
him
you
proceed.
entirely.
Let's hear him proceed. Those who have made that claims, now the onus is on them
Yeah.
to prove,
See.
because what they have said has been rebutted.
Yes, I'm telling you. These are the facts.
As
Clear
you-
cut.
As you know them.
So then why has the
Because-
government
because-
machinery
because
been
I've
quiet?
heard this,
You
yeah.
see? So you see,
Who has been quiet?
on that publication,
Who?
I said the government machinery, so they should have responded to it immediately because it feeds in.
You see, this was put on social media, apparently on Murtala Mohammed's Facebook wall, and then the newspaper has picked it.
Oh,
So that's the source.
Okay, Kweku, proceed to your.
See, I listened to Sami very well, and the points they are raising, some Mr. Kwame Ahoy, some matter, some GNA survey, and
Then Kofi Adams as well.
Kofi Adams and attack on Kuku Anyodoho and all that. Then I took my constitution and the act and I tried to reconcile those things relative to the eligibility or qualification criteria.
Article 94.
And I found none of the things they put here connecting.
We didn't quote the constitution.
No, I don't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I am saying that I'm looking on what basis do we appoint electoral commissioners and their deputies and the members. There's an act, an enabling act, as well as the constitution. That's the substantive base. Otherwise, some of these things were also said about Charlotte. Oh, she's too temperamental, she's this, she does PR, all those things. Those things, I came and said, they mean nothing relative to the core legislation that is the basis on which the appointment is taking place. I still stand by that position.
But we are talking about clear bias.
I checked the constitution and I didn't find that. I checked the act and I didn't find that.
We are not referring to the constitution.
Yes, so what are we talking about? There's no human being around there that won't have something against. If you are talking of his character, her character, and all those things. And so because NDC raises the issues of character or personal human relations and aggregate them, we should consider that.
I'm shocked.
Do you know that? No, you cannot be shocked. I said so in favor of Charlotte.
They are a major stakeholder.
No, I'm not saying they can't talk. You didn't get me.
So you are saying
they
we
have
can
every
appoint
right
Credible as chairman of the Electoral Commission?
Well,
Is that
you
your
are
argument?
inviting me into the realm of absurdity.
No, but that's,
and I
that's,
declined the invitation.
No, but that's
no,
the realm
you see,
that you have brought
that's
us
what
in.
they do.
Because it's like you are saying.
No, you see, when you are cornered relative to the principles, the premises that the law allow, then they bring in an absurdity in order to confuse the issue.
I don't see any.
I am unable to accept your
Is
invitation.
bias important or not in the consideration of who becomes an
Where is
electoral
the
commissioner?
bias? Because she had problems with NDC in 1 or 2 or 3 instances, yet you continue to collaborate with her. You did so many things together. The great Professor Mills had the occasion in Parliament, 2009 State of Nation Address, as well as the 2000 State Nation of Address, to highlight the role of the IEA and what it has done to our democratic consolidation. Apart from that, I have this document here. Look at the role of IEA, under her stewardship. Okay? So many, all relative to our democratic exercise as a nation. Nobody is perfect. So you may have 1 or 2 limitations. I am saying that when I do a balance sheet of the positives and the negatives,
So I say this originated, these are her original.
some of them are presidential transition
She has the institution. What would you say?
What are we talking about?
They say consultants.
No, let's
They say
find
consultants.
If you read the
I'm
institution, is it wrong to
What
give
are
you
we talking
credit
about?
for what the institution
No,
achieves?
so that's
What are
been
we
in charge,
talking
but what
about?
specifically?
No.
What
Okay,
specific-
Martin, your point is made. So let's hear Kuku.
She has the institution. And the institution has put out there initiatives, many of which have impacted positively on our democratic dispensation. And I'm being asked that, so what is her role? I should divorce her.
Exactly.
I should divorce her from the institution
Yeah,
that
we-
she heads.
Exactly, to see exactly what she
That
did.
is- that
Yes.
is all scientific.
Oh,
There's a connection. There's an interconnection.
so let's say that this
Okay.
bill,
The
she wrote this and this. No, I mean in terms
Is
of
it
the
meant to
IA
law?
stand.
So is that
I
also in
have
the
to-
constitution?
I have to-
Is that also in the constitution?
No.
Her work at
no,
the
that was a
IEA.
response. No, that was a response. to
Oh,
my-
okay. I thought you were still
query
making
you
the
raised earlier.
constitutional.
Yes.
Okay,
argument.
it's a response you raised
Yeah.
earlier. That's what I'm saying. You were asking more or less like her track record.
Exactly.
What is it? And I said she has a track record relative to
Please, let's allow him to finish his point. Thank you.
relative to democratic consolidation and elsewhere as well, even to do with petroleum revenue management bills. All those things come in, but I'm taking that out because it's not election related. So she does have the track record as well. But you see, my point is this: the election architecture that we have developed in this country is such that the individuals who are appointed no longer really have that much weight to manipulate the system. Look, Sammy, you are talking bias. 1993, and I don't recollect, even the argument was against PNDC having appointed the INEC exclusively. When we moved into 93, they continued to do appointments because the constitution allowed the president to do so. There was one lady who was appointed who was a founding member of the 31st December Women's Movement. I didn't hear anybody complain about that. I don't know if you remember the lady. Madame Teresa Cole was a founding member of the 31st December Women's Movement. You clapped for her.
I'll check. I don't remember.
I have it here.
But we've become wiser. We are progressive.
And remember that some of us are young.
Exactly.
No, let me tell you what we did together, and I was part of the position. We opposed the INEC appointment. We were not happy with the way things were going, but what we did, we insisted on the formation of the IPAC, the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, and in collaboration with the EC, the donor community, and the civil society organizations, we triggered electoral reforms. The transparent ballot boxes, the photo ID cards that went in a progressive manner, okay, and the new voters register, training of party agents. This thing, then eventually the biometric registration, and then of course add the election petition and the consequences that it triggered. Some people even went to court. Police pink sheets
and
now
that
to
is
be
the
given.
pinnacle of it.
Yes,
Supreme Court decisions
that is
and
what
all
we
that.
have done to ourselves as a people.
Yeah.
Progressively improved on the election architecture to the extent that we have minimized possible manipulative designs of individuals. Let's give ourselves credit.
Yeah, true, but we
Let's
cannot
believe in
downplay.
that.
We cannot downplay the importance.
We need to
of
create a critical mass of these ingredients.
Okay.
To ensure that we consolidate the integrity of the process, rather than be raising individuals up and saying, "Wait, Nekazini, wait, Nimamini." I mean,
I've also
I nearly
read-
said nonsense.
No, it happens.
I'm sorry.
You haven't commented on.
Thank you.
How she came in.
We take a very last break here,
try to add
and we'll return to have your very brief comments on whether or not first degree is the way to fight crime and stop excesses in the police. Yeah.
And I've made it clear. The debate or the litigation will take place in court.
Absolutely.
I am
That's fair.
out of that discussion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
We'll be right back.